Good morning. Quick video. Let me get a little. Let me get right. Couple things. Couple things. So, I stumbled upon a Netflix video by Let me pull it up. Hope everybody had a good Martin Luther King Day. Yesterday was off yesterday. Shout out to federal holidays. Um, Shout out to those who've gone before us. That's crucial. All right, so Brene Brown. Brene Brown. So I watched her Netflix special yesterday. I called it Courage. And then this morning I watched her TED Talk. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I took a couple of notes. A lot of notes, rather. And I have 15 minutes to make this video. 15 minutes. And I took a lot of notes. So this is going to be interesting. Anyway, let's get into it. Vulnerability. Vulnerability. Now, this is going to be my perspective. This is going to be my take on it. I'm going to try to avoid the mainstream definitions, the mainstream topics. I'm sure we're all aware of most of what it means to be vulnerable. But I want to give you my perspective on what it means in my life and how I use it, if I use it, where I use it, with whom I use it with. It's very important that you don't mess up definitions and how you bring them into your life. It's very crucial. So, a couple things, and this is not in any particular order. We are all afraid and want to be told what to do. We are all afraid. At the foundation of what it means to be vulnerable or brave or courageous is the reality, or within your mind, the reality of fear and the fear of someone's opinion. She brought up shame quite often. Shame is purely based on someone else's opinion of you. Now, whether it's a good or bad thing that is causing the shame, that will be based on your own moral law, which at some point needs to be objective in nature. That's a whole nother topic. But we are all afraid. Hence why most of the world, 99% of the world, has a job. It's why I'm going to work. Not because I want to, it's because it's part of my plan, but my plan requires resources. It requires a path to get there. Which requires, time and money to be exchanged. We're all afraid and want to be told what to do. It is so much easier to hire a trainer than to just be disciplined, on your own and to do the things you know to do. We could easily read the books. We could easily, go on YouTube and learn the things, the foundations of finance and investing, but we rather hire a money manager, accountant. It's just what we do. It's human nature. It's interesting. So yeah, we are all afraid. We want to be told what to do. It's so much easier to follow someone than to lead someone into the darkness, to go somewhere that no one else has gone. That's why mentorship is so important. Mentorship is so valuable to me personally, is that I could easily go in the dark and bump my head multiple times. And I was speaking to a friend concerning this point about how at some point you're going to have to go in the dark. At some point you're going to have to make that move that no one has gone before, the place where it's uncharted territory, and you have to go embark on that journey by yourself. But in most cases, in most journeys, you are not the first. Hence why you're watching this, all 6 of you, at 6:49 a.m. Goodness, I ran out of time quick. Mentorship is the reason why you're here, because you would rather learn from someone else's experiences before you embark on something. It's why asking a question is so valuable. Why bump your head when you can at least gather the mistakes from someone else's life? Not that they're going to be the same, not that they're going to be exactly, parallel, but at least you know what lies ahead, at least in part. Couple things. Asking for help. Asking for help. A lot of people see this as a weakness. I used to see this as a weakness. Um, in a lot of ways, my actions show that I still do. Um, Not knowing, you know, yes, there's leverage. Yes, there's exchange of value, which is what I call networking. That's what I call relationship. We're all in relationships. The exchange of value. Rejection is simply misplaced value. So when you go somewhere and they say you're not worthy of this, first of all, there's two ways of looking at rejection. Is it something I caused? In terms of me being rejected. Let's say I killed two people last week, and then I try to apply for the Air Force, and they say we can't let you in, bro. We are hereby rejecting your offer to serve. That's something I caused. That's my fault. Versus rejection based on someone else's preferences that has nothing to do with me. So there's two ways of looking at rejection. So don't always think that is your fault. It could be simply another person's preference, just like you have preferences, just like you choose whether or not you want to do something. You choose between right and wrong. You have a preference based on the outcome, obviously. So asking for help is probably the most important thing you can do in terms of long-term longevity, long-term success, long-term, you know, pure logistics, getting from point A to point B, asking for help. Something my senior master sergeant told me a while back, and it stayed with me to this day. You did not get where you are by yourself, comma. You won't get where you're going by yourself. All this has to do with vulnerability in terms of you know where you're trying to go, or at least you should. And up to this point where you currently are, you can obviously think upon, the many thousands of people who have assisted you getting to where you are, where you currently. However, indirectly. Everyone has a role to play in society, and because people are playing those roles, you are potentially where you are. The nurse that served you so many years ago, when you were born, the doctor who did their job, who simply washed their hands that allowed you to enter the earth. That there's so many people down the line, that simply enforce laws. The police officer that protected you, indirectly, they simply enforced laws while you're unable to, consciously protect yourself. Obviously, your parents, your family, your friends who have given to you, whether it be time, money, resources, knowledge, wisdom. You did not get where you currently are by yourself, and you're not going to get where you're going by yourself. At some point, you're going to need to ask for help. I'm in that current place. At some point, you're going to need to ask for help. At the base of vulnerability, or the lack of willingness to be vulnerable, is pride. It's pride. As an Isiah, as Ray, as me, as a man, I struggle with this. I'm very prideful. I'm very competitive. I hate to lose. And so I would rather try to lift all the weight by myself than say, bro, can you give me a hand real quick? Because I think in terms of efficiency, if one person can do this, why involve 2 and 3 more people? At some point in your Air Force career or whatever branch you're in, and this kind of is concentrated at certain levels, but at some point in your career, you're going to realize that what I am tasked to do, I am incapable of achieving by myself. No matter how many hours I work, no matter how many plans I lay, and I thought up and down, and I thought of every single variable at play, and just the things that could happen potentially, the things that are possible, things that are probable. I've thought of all the variables, and then you go to actually achieve and do the thing that is required. You're gonna realize I still need another person. I need another mind. I need help. I need leadership. I have questions that I don't have answers to. I've read all these books, and yet I don't have the experience, because theory only takes you so far. That's what I believe my friend was alluding to in terms of, you can read and you can learn and you can have all this knowledge and you can have wisdom in theory, but until you do the thing, experience greatly outweighs, knowledge and theory. That's why mentorship is so valuable to me, being that I can learn from someone else's experiences, both positive and negative. Asking for help is proof of self-awareness, not weakness. Your ability to realize that I am not capable where I'm currently at to achieve this by myself. Self-awareness will get you further than any amount of strength, any amount of competence. Realizing I need help. We want to be in control. We want to be in control. Another flaw of mine. When I went skiing in February of 2018, this was a dope vlog, by the way. One of my greatest struggles with that slope and gravity, being as prevalent as it was the fact that I did not have full control of my descent. Yes, they taught me pizza and all the random different instructions, turn your legs and turn your head and your body will follow. That was beautiful, theory. And then when I went to go do it, my boots were too loose and the skis weren't turning and I wasn't turning. My head was turned, but I wasn't going anywhere. I did not have control. And the only way I thought to succeed by going down this hill was to just fall as soon as possible so I can just slide down the rest. I hate not being in control of stuff. In the military, you're going to realize I don't have a lot of power. That's not a lot of weight. Where I currently work, that's not much. And at times you will drift into a place of feeling helpless. I can't change my base. I can't change where I currently live. I live in the dorms. I live in this city. I live in this dusty city. I'm deployed. I'm away from family, my children. I'm in basic. Everything that I'm supposed to do is planned for me. And you enter a place where you don't have control. It is what it is. We want to be in control, but being able to release that is a form of vulnerability in terms of let the powers that be, ask questions. Ask questions. Sometimes when you're in a place where you want to change things and you see problems, you see inefficiencies, and all you can think of is, maybe I'll just ask a question here. And if you ask the proper question, it should help the entire environment, not just yourself. Vulnerability. One of my favorites. It's something that I don't like to acknowledge. I don't like to admit. But it's truth. It's truth. We all want to feel wanted. We need people. To be vulnerable is to address an insecurity and pride, as I mentioned before. We all want to feel wanted. It's a human trait. It's a human characteristic. Obviously, it's not limited to humans because obviously your dog wants to be wanted. It wants to be petted and hugged and scratched. To admit this is to empower yourself to take that risk again in a relationship. I'm currently in that place. Most of these points is obviously why I wrote them down, but they're for me. They're for me. As I mentioned in most videos, these videos are for me first. I'm talking to myself before I had to write these down before I even gave them to you. We all want to feel wanted. We need people. To be vulnerable is to address an insecurity and your own pride. I don't have to be vulnerable about, when it comes to a game night or things that require strategy given like my head versus your head, my mind, my ambition versus your ambition. I don't have to be vulnerable in that area. I mean, I have all the answers, but in terms of just the energy I give to a certain task, you'll probably lose against me. But there are certain areas of my life that I am very insecure about. I used to be very insecure about my birthmark. For those of you who don't know this, it's a birthmark. I used to be very insecure about it, mainly because I didn't know anything about it. And to this day, I currently think it's freckles, a cluster of freckles. I don't know, but I've learned to embrace it. Meaning I've taken the power away from those who used to make fun of me. Doo-doo face and what have you, all the various, terms that we can come up from our imaginations. It is what it is, but I've learned to embrace it, therefore taking away the power from others. What you consume is a clue to what you value. If we take a look at our Instagram pages, what we are consuming, what we view, what we eat, it's a clue to what you value. Take a little inventory. What am I constantly consuming in terms of my own path in life? Am I consuming this because I want to be that? Am I consuming this because I'm not that? Am I following this person because, they inspire me, or I'm jealous of them, or I'm trying to keep tabs on them? Take evaluation. What you consume is a clue to what you value. What you do is what you believe. What you do is what you believe. What you consume is a clue to what you value, but what you do daily, what you wake up and actually do, the time you wake up, what you do after you've gone to the gym, what I eat all day, what I eat all day, what I eat on weekends, what I eat when the curtains are closed, what I eat on weekends is what I believe. The shortcuts you attempt to take are a clue, or it's evidence that you think that I can exchange little or less than effort than what is required. What else we got? See being vulnerable as a place of honesty, not weakness, but be aware of consequences, good and bad. I don't have enough time to get into all these. I'll just read through the rest of them. I'll repeat that last one though. See being vulnerable as a place of honesty, not weakness, but be aware of the consequences, good and bad. She mentioned a story about how a guy she didn't mention which date it was, but I'm pretty sure it was early in the process where he mentioned he loved his girlfriend. And he told her this in the name of being vulnerable, trying to pour his heart out to someone, and it backfired. She broke up with him. Which kind of leads me into my next points. Is being vulnerable worth the possibility of failure, hurt? Is there a way to avoid being hurt? I'm not going to try to speak on all of these, but definitely try to answer these on your own. I'll repeat it. Is vulnerability worth the possibility of failure, hurt? Is there a way to avoid the pain, the hurt? One of my favorites that she spoke on: you cannot create without being vulnerable. Starting a YouTube channel is one of the greatest ways to be vulnerable in terms of putting your interests, putting your mind out in a form that people can consume it at scale. I get a lot of dislikes. I get a lot of dirty, dusty comments. You're wrong. You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about, man. It is what it is. Rejection is value misplaced. So realize that just because somebody doesn't consume it, it's not for them. Or you could be wrong. Or you could suck. There are a lot of possibilities. I'm not a huge fan of Beyonce. I think she's singing the wrong genre. But she was vulnerable enough to give me that chance to have an opinion. Not that it affects her. She doesn't know I exist. What else we got? I mentioned this one before. You cannot do it alone. You need people. You're not going to get where you're going without the person next to you. Don't let vulnerability, this is one of my favorites. Don't let vulnerability turn into delusion. Don't confuse vulnerability with entitlement. Speaking to the outcome of after you poured your heart out to someone and now you expect a certain reaction. I'll read those again because they're heavy. Don't let vulnerability turn into delusion. Don't confuse vulnerability with entitlement. You don't deserve someone's affection. You're not worthy of someone's affection. You're blessed to have it. You're favored. You're chosen. That's what make love so beautiful, is that someone has to choose you. But you weren't born with that entitlement. First of all relationships are based on actions. They're based on exchange of value. You solve this problem for me in my life. I'm not there to solve every problem, but I solve a specific problem that most likely someone else cannot solve, or they don't solve, or they're unwilling to solve. Relationship is based on exchange of value, and based on the level that's at, the length of time, long term, short term, etc. Your vulnerability does not remove the possibility or the probability of rejection. Vulnerability decreases one's ability to imagine, both positive and negative. This is one of my favorite things I wrote down. I really should make a whole another video on it. Vulnerability decreases one's ability to imagine. When you spill your entire guts on the table, you just say everything you're thinking. You take away the beautiful dance that is seduction, that is romance. Sometimes when you know those memes where the guy sends her a text and says, and there's a dress laying on the bed and there's a note, be ready at 8 o'clock. I'm gonna pick you up and we're gonna go here. Imagine if you wrote on the table, let's say he called her and say, put on that red dress in your closet. We're going to TJ Maxx, and then we gonna hit Chick-fil-A, and then we going to see a movie. But what if they actually did that in the date? It wouldn't matter. The difference is there's that mystery involved, which kind of maybe it's my own definition of vulnerability, being that if your honesty is so on 10 that you violate the laws of imagination, there's pros and cons. Obviously, it's relative at that level. It's subjective, but you get the point. There's a certain level of insinuation, and there's a certain level of mystery that is involved in the dance that is relationship. That I'm pursuing her, but I'm not telling her everything, but she knows based on what I'm thinking. She can look in my eyes and tell what I'm thinking about. There's a term called smiling with your eyes, and you look deep in her eyes, and and she feels your energy. That's different. That's different. 12:07 p.m. in England. It's good, Green King. I gotta finish this video. Goodness. Your response to vulnerability should be honesty, not compliance. Your response to vulnerability should be honesty, not compliance. Meaning, just because someone pours their heart out to you, you don't owe them anything. If anything, based on your own moral law, which at this point in your life should be objective. You should be studying your moral law. I have videos on that. You should check that out. But your response should be honesty. Tell them the truth. Tell them what you're thinking. Tell them what you're afraid of. Tell them what you want in return, what you want in the first place, what you value. Your response should be honesty, not compliance. And then a little Gary V at the end. You're going to die. Regret. What happens when you're not vulnerable? What happens when you don't say what's in your heart? What happens when you don't go after that person? When you don't say, I'm sorry? What happens when you don't say, I was wrong? Regret. It's waiting for you. That's the video. I got to go. I got to go. I'll probably follow this up. Vulnerability is interesting, but it speaks to our humanity. It speaks to our fundamental, needs in this world. As far as we need each other, we need another person, we need affection. As a baby, we needed that person to hug us and to nurture us and to care for us and to love us. That does not go away because you're grown now. That doesn't go away because you posted a meme about I'm cold hearted, I don't need nobody. That doesn't go away because you're competent and you're good at your job and you're wealthy and you drive a nice car, you have your own apartment. That does not go away. I would argue that you have responsibility to give and to receive others' vulnerability, to be approachable, to have an open door policy in terms of allowing people to approach you with their feelings and what they're thinking and how they feel about certain topics and not attack them back, but respond with honesty, not compliance, not a form of entitlement. It's just my thoughts. It's my thoughts. Interesting video, interesting Netflix special. I recommend it in terms of just forming your own perspective, your own thoughts. I'm not saying she's right in everything she said. I don't agree with everything she said, but it made me think. And that's the whole point of literature. That's the whole point of content, podcasts and YouTubes, and is to form a perspective, to form your own thoughts towards something. So yeah, that's the video. Say it was good to your boy.